Here's a video of France on fire while I go pee real quick. I'll be back in a second.
Mais eh bien, ça échauffe un peu les esprits, notamment ceux des manifestants qui comptaient bien rester une bonne partie de la nuit sur cette place de la Concorde. Donc, ce que l'on voit au moment où je vous parle, c'est qu'il y a un feu, un début de feu qui est sur cette place de la Concorde. Il y a aussi certains éléments perturbateurs qui lancent des pavés sur les CRS. C'est-à-dire qu'en ce moment, il y a des travaux sur cette place de la Concorde. Donc, c'est très facile d'utiliser le mobilier urbain pour s'en servir contre les forces de l'ordre. On l'a vu notamment tout à l'heure, certaines personnes arracher des pavés. Ça vient donc de monter d'un cran, même si jusque-là c'était plutôt calme, hein, jusqu'à ce que l'ordre de dispersion soit donné il y a environ 1 heure. La manifestation se déroulait plutôt dans le calme, et puis vers 19h45, eh bien, les forces de l'ordre ont décidé de charger. Il y a eu un canon à eau aussi qui a été utilisé quelques minutes. Le but, c'est bien d'éloigner les manifestants de l'Assemblée nationale. C'était plutôt réussi, puisqu'il y a beaucoup moins de monde sur cette place de la Concorde, mais ceux qui restent, eh bien, ce sont soit ceux qui voulaient pacifiquement rester une bonne partie de la nuit ici pour manifester leur mécontentement, et puis les autres qui restent, ce sont ces quelques éléments perturbateurs qui s'en prennent aux forces de l'ordre. On a donc ce face-à-face en ce moment entre les CRS et les derniers manifestants qui refusent de partir. On entend aussi...
Oui, le baguette's on fire. That's right. France is on fire. Le baguettes are on fire. People riot. Oui. Mon penchant.
Tout le monde déteste la police. Des charges effectuées de manière
régulière,
toutes les 5 minutes par la police pour évacuer donc ces derniers manifestants qui restent sur cette place. Mais pour l'instant, eh bien, il en reste encore plus.
I mean, the thing is, like, you sound Quebecois. Well, I do hang out with a fucking Quebecer a little too much, so maybe that's why my accent is le busted, not very nice. You know, omelette du fromage. Garçon. Oui. Kid Ludda next to help on with the coverage. Tabarnak. They're throwing Molotov baguettes. Yeah. So, I'm French. Situation is tense as fuck. Bro, when is the situation in France not tense as fuck? Yeah, which, by the way, Macron is actually pushing this bill through with the pension thing. Is pushing through the pension thing without like any National Assembly whatsoever. So pretty cool. There's like trash piling up over the course of the past week. What does the bill do again? The bill's doing what like South Korea tried to do as well, which is to raise the retirement age. That's why it's happening. Can you explain why these riots are happening? Well, the riots are happening because they're French. And they always riot. And it's not a bad thing, by the way. Like, I know that sounds almost like we're making fun of the French, but like, honestly, as much as I make fun of the French, at least they fucking get angry and do something about it when their government does anything. But yeah, in France, the retirement age is 62. Macron has been talking about increase the retirement age to 64, 2 extra years of work. Oui. In a neoliberal society, you need to do this. Does it work if you're always rioting? I mean, it usually does work, so... Macron was elected to block fascism. We got fascism. I mean, Macron is literally the definition of like not to get too Stalinist here, but like Big Homie is a social fascist. Like he's just like slightly less overtly racist than Le Pen, right? And not running on like the overt racism, but also still pretty fucking authoritarian. I mean, this shit is like authoritarian as hell. It worked for them very well. They tortured a city into submission. Yeah. Anyway, he's more of a pocket homie than a big homie. There are 2 chambers in the French parliament. One of them, not directly elected one, approved the bill, and now Macron is trying to pass it without getting it approved by the other chamber, which is directly elected by the French people. Yeah. There was a study years ago that found centrists were the most anti-democratic group, even more than the far right. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Macron is using 49.3 to pass this bill without the vote. Without the vote, and the only goal is to provoke riots in order for us to enforce new security laws. It's a lose-lose situation for us. Yeah. Most European rights are social nationalists, unlike the very pro-capital American right. Yeah. Macron is basically the minister of exterior, but when you have the minister of the interior, you also have to look at what? I mean, ultimately, it gives us cool footage, I think. That's pretty much it. But you know what? Let's get fucking started. Let's get started on a little bit of anti-French racism. You know what I mean? Even though, like, much love and support to all the Frenchies out there doing their very best. to push back against the same kind of authoritarian power structures that very firmly exist within the neoliberal, supposedly democratic association as well.
Government will push through its landmark and unpopular pension reforms without a vote by MPs. For weeks now, unions have led protests against the...
Bro, Ludwig literally, like, we get it, bro, you're white, but, like, he does the 23andMe for everything. You know what I mean? You know how, like, a lot of white guys will do 23andMe and be like, oh, I have, like, 2% Nigerian in me. Or, like, or, like, they'll be like, oh, I'm actually Native American, right? Ludwig does that for every white race out there. Like, every white ethnicity out there. He's like, I'm French, I'm Swedish, I'm German. Like, I've heard this motherfucker claim everything, dude. Irish, English, straight up. Like, I've heard him claim everything, dude. Sos mon bites. What the fuck? I don't even know what this is. His name is Ludwig. What do you expect? No, it's just like, pick one, dude. Pick one. Suck my dick. Is that what he's saying? Nique la police. That's all I know. Okay, that's all I got. Bite. Anyway, pick a fucking lane and stick to it, motherfucker. Okay. Nique la police. I only know that from La Haine. Ludwig is very bad at French. It's so funny. Brother, he's very bad at English and he studied it, okay? So, you know, I guess you could blame Arizona for that one. But, like, the French one, it makes sense. Don't be using my mother tongue. I'm kissing your mother's tongue. Fucking got him, dude. See you tomorrow, by the way. Okay, but let's get started.
Bill that would raise the French retirement age to 64. Indeed, about 2/3 of French people are opposed to the plans.
Oh, good thing. Hey, by the way, I mean, guys, under neoliberal capitalist democracies, undemocratic things would never happen, like when the 2/3 of the population are expressly against this new provision, right? They would never push that through in undemocratic ways, right? Or, like, for example, in the United States of America, if, like, 2/3 of the country think that, like, Roe v. Wade should remain the law of the land, and then the Supreme Court justices would probably consider that to be a super precedent, implying that they'll never surely overturn that decision. They would never do that, right? They would never, ever do that in a million years. Oh, wait, that's right. They do that all the fucking time. That's crazy. And there's, like, a semblance of what you would consider to be a general strike, basically, what's going on in France right now. It's pretty good. Good stuff. It doesn't matter. This is how democracies operate. You know?
But this afternoon, the Prime Minister, Elizabeth Bourne, said the government doesn't have the numbers it needs to pass the vote in Parliament, so it will force through the legislation anyway. Take a listen.
That's always good.
Today, we are faced with uncertainty that hinges on a few votes. We cannot take the risk of 175 hours of parliamentary debate collapsing. On the basis of Article 49(3) of the Constitution, I engage the responsibility of my government on the pension reform bill.
Well, already then, significant anger in Parliament following that statement by Elizabeth Bourne. Just have a listen to the spontaneous reaction by MPs a short while ago.
Madame, s'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît. And if you're wondering how France gets to fucking go up in arms like this every time they try to do this sort of thing, like when they increase pension from 62 to 64, that's because they have viable unions. Now, if you look at the actual rate of unionization in France, you would see a fraction of the entire labor force, but collective bargaining agreements actually end up over-encompassing 98% of the entire labor force in the country. So, once again, not only do they have a long history of protests, they also have, a real mechanism of pushback.
Quite a moment there in the National Assembly this afternoon. MPs singing the national anthem, and not long afterwards, Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far-right National Rally Party, announcing that she will be filing a motion of no confidence.
That's so sick. That's so sick. I love allowing the fucking Nazi party just an opportunity to make themselves look like they're the real pro-labor party. It's
in the
so
government
sick.
in response to its plans to force through this legislation. Let's go live then to the National Assembly. Claire Paquelin is there. She's been watching all of this drama unfold today. Claire, just bring us up to speed. Marine Le Pen saying a motion of no confidence is to be filed. How big of a deal is that?
No, it's awesome. I love, dude. Neoliberal centrists are so fucking good. They're so good. They definitely are the best way to prevent fascism from seeping in. You know what I mean? Definitely, totally. So glad. It's just like, it's so apparent that the very same bottleneck that the Democratic Party is in stopping the country from moving further left is the exact same thing that Macron is doing, okay? Centrists in Europe are way more occupied with stopping any kind of revolutionary momentum, any kind of trade unionist momentum, any kind of leftist momentum. They are way more preoccupied with that as they sell themselves as the only way to stop fascism from, rearing its ugly head. But it never works out that way.
Well, I've just been speaking to some members of Parliament trying to get a picture of what things are going to look like over the next few days. Marine Le Pen, as we said, is planning to file a motion of no confidence, but she's not the only one. Left-wing MPs will be doing the same, and I understand that early next week, whichever motion of no confidence has the most backers, well, that will be the one that will actually be debated on in Parliament. This is a risky...
Is the bill adding or removing a pension? No, dude. The pension exists. They're just increasing the retirement age, adding 2 additional years to the retirement age. The retirement age in France currently. So let me just start from the top one more time, okay? For the Americans in the chat, there's a concept called pensions, okay, in other countries where when you retire, it's kind of like Social Security, but like at least a little bit more livable than what Social Security looks like. Okay, so when you retire, you get money from either your place of work or from the government, right? Now, the retirement age in France is 62. That's the actual retirement age. The retirement age in America there is no retirement age, really. But the retirement age in the United States of America, which doesn't really fucking mean anything, is the full retirement age is 66 if you were born between 1943 to 1954. The full retirement age increases gradually if you were born from 1955 to 1960 until it reaches 67. For anyone born in 1960 or later, full retirement benefits are payable at the age of 67. This is for the United States of America. For those of you who don't know, this is from the Social Security Administration's very own website. Okay, there it is. In France, it's currently 62. They want to raise it to 60. They want to raise it to 64. Okay? Wait, what the fuck? That's why all these people are freaking the fuck out.
Time for Elisabeth Borne, the French Prime Minister. It's a risky position she has found herself in. Many opposition members of Parliament will be seeing this 49.3 mechanism, the use of it, as a provocation. It's fired them up. It really has. We are, though, in a similar position as we...
What does raising it do? It means that people have to work 2 extra years before the government pays them. Like before anybody pays them a pension. It cheapens it. I mean, it's cost effective if you're worried about your Social Security apparatus falling apart. That's what it is. It's also a terrifying precedent to set, but, that's not even a thing. 30% of poor people in France die before 64. Nice. There you go. That's also another cost-effective, cost-saving measure. What do you think about the argument that Macron is doing this to prevent France from going bankrupt and putting the burden on those who can take it better? Sounds like BS to me. It's just that, like, when you are a government, you have plenty of opportunities to raise your coffers, raise funds, right? The problem is in the Western world, okay, in most instances, it's like unimaginable to assume that you would ever tax the wealthy or tax corporations at a higher rate. So that's precisely the problem. They don't do that. They'll instead tax gas, or they'll tax, they'll use regressive taxes that end up harming the working poor. They'll up the sales tax or things of that nature. KDV in Turkey is the equivalent. What would it be called? What is it called in English? Fuck, I can't believe I'm forgetting it now. It's what Andrew Yang pushed for as well. He wanted to do that. The VAT, the value added tax. Yes, the value added tax. You know, that's kind of what the only effective funding mechanisms are, or the passable funding mechanisms are in a country like France, or in many of the Western neoliberal capitalist nations. It's like unimaginable to scare capital by increasing their taxes in a meaningful capacity, because, hey, capital flight will occur, even though there's no demonstration of capital flight thus far. Also, one effective mechanism to push back against capital flight, as I've said time and time again, is to tell them that if you evade taxes, then you don't get to actually enter the French market. You don't get to actually enter the American market. You know, put a fucking Chinese-style vice grip on that shit. You know what I mean? That's what I would do. That's what I would advocate for. Oh, you don't want to pay taxes in America? Well, sorry, then you're not going to fucking take advantage of our pigs, okay? Our fucking fat slob pigs that buy all of your shit. We're not buying it no longer. We're not allowing you to come into the country and sell goods. It's just a threat, but I think it would be a very viable one, and yet for some reason nobody ever considers that at all, you know? No one ever considers it.
Were before, it's those right-wing Les Républicains party members who are being courted now. It's their votes who count. It's worth remembering that their presidential candidate last year, Valérie Pécresse, she campaigned to raise the retirement age. But this time round, some of them plan to back the reform, and others just felt that they couldn't back Emmanuel Macron and his government. Some of them joined criticism.
The U.S. does not have a value-added tax, but each individual state has like different forms of sales tax. But no, we do not have like a federal all-encompassing value-added tax. There's no VAT in the United States. It's supposed to be more progressive, even though it's like it doesn't really work that way. You know, fun shit, boys. Fun shit. But of course, because the French are very open and have a long and otherwise very fun history of revolting against these sorts of things, they are up in arms and burning the fucking town down a little bit. Which
From the
I
left
like.
wing saying that the bill was unfair, but it's their votes. It could come down to a handful of votes. It's their votes which will be courted over the next few days ahead of that likely motion of no confidence next week.
And Claire, take us then to next week if you can. The vote of confidence happens. Let's assume the government loses the vote. What happens then?
Well, the person who's really in the firing line is Elisabeth Borne, the Prime Minister. When she came in last year, this really was the...
It's wild to me that, like, what is the French left non-existent? Like, what happened? What happened to the French left? Why are they not talking about Mélenchon at all? I have seen zero coverage of his name being mentioned. Zero. What the fuck's going on there? No, don't kick W the left. Jean-Luc Mélenchon actually had a pretty solid, originally had a solid opportunity, which, you know, it's fallen apart now, but the National Council for Pensions has calculated that our current pension system is fine economically speaking, so Macron's argument doesn't even work. He's not a government representative anymore. No, but I'm saying, like, Mélenchon led his party into almost seizing fucking victory in one of the more successful leftist movements in the country. There is still a very viable There is still a very viable leftist movement in France, and yet they're making it seem like a lot of the people that are pushing back against this is just like right wing. It's Le Pen.
The big reform that she needed to get enough votes for in Parliament, and she hasn't managed to do that. She wasn't able to bring enough of those right-wing Les Républicains party members on board. So really the 49.3 mechanism for her feels like a bit of a failure. That said, there's also the trade unions. They're not backing away easily either. The dustbin collectors in Paris are going to continue their strike until next Monday at least. And we know that the trade unions will really see the 49.3 mechanism as a trigger for more strikes, more actions, which they haven't yet specified, but I'm sure we'll find out very, very soon. More actions pretty much means more disruption here in France.
Claire Paquelin live at the National Assembly. Thank you very much indeed.
I just want to bring you the latest pictures from Paris, where, of course, we've been telling you that there have been protests this evening after French President Emmanuel Macron used a special procedure to push through controversial bill to raise the retirement age. Look at those pictures on your screen now. Protesters seem to have set fire to...
Dude, they brought up trade unionists at the end of that fucking conversation. Like, who the fuck is working the trash? Who's working in sanitation? Who's working in transportation? Like, how do you think there was a level of organizing there that caused trash bags to be fucking piled up everywhere? That organizing did not come from the far right, okay? That organizing did not come from the fascists. How the fuck do you just mention the trade unionists literally at the very end of the conversation? It's like they make it seem as though it is a fucking afterthought. It blows my mind. Macron is married to his old high school teacher. Wow, it's fucked up. You just don't want love to thrive. I see how it is. It has to be deliberate, right? Yeah, problematic age gap galore with fucking with respect to Macron and his older lady friend / teacher at school that he ended up marrying. Trade unionists are a left-wing thing for America's Lamau. Most of the workers are unionized, not a political thing at all. It's pretty much assumed. Yes, but you are failing to recognize I don't know if you don't see this or not, but when the media makes it seem as though the organizational effort that's coming from leftists or trade unionists, which is like an anti-capitalist concept to a certain degree, when they don't fucking mention that is by design. They're doing it at the behest of capital. They're doing it as a defensive measure. Because this is centrist media trying to frame this as a far-right versus centrist in order to manufacture consent for the cutting of benefits. There's a major protest outside the parliament right now led by the left in France. They are going to be tabling a no-confidence vote themselves, and it will probably be the one that is voted on. But when you look at the fucking situation on the goddamn ground, or when you look at the situation that's being covered in the media, it's very different. Like, I heard they're rioting because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And if they no longer want to see those ads, they don't even know. All they need to do is subscribe, which they could do for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime by connecting their Amazon Prime account to the Twitch Prime to get the Twitch Prime and use it here. Ha ha ha! You can also get the gifted sub. That is right. If you are lucky, you can get the gifted sub. Use it on your favorite streamer. Hopefully that's me. Your favorite French streamer. Use the 3-minute ad break now. Anyway, by the way, the French news is neoliberal as fuck. Every time I go back to visit family, the media neoliberal rhetoric and propaganda gets worse and worse. Yeah, I mean, hon is the laziest French accent. Nobody says that. Bro, you think I give a fuck? My man said it's so lazy. Okay. Munch deux for 420 and one sandwich, please. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs together, allowing 10 people to no longer say they are at the top of the hour. Okay. Sakura Gore, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Oui, oui. All right, let's get back to it.
Cars there. There looks like tear gas is being used on the streets of Paris as well. Of course, we've seen that before. A lot of protesters on the streets of Paris there. The move, of course, triggered protests within Parliament too, with some politicians singing the French national anthem, holding placards saying no to 64 years today. The government is arguing the retirement age must go up to make sure the pension system doesn't go bust. The measure has caused widespread protests over recent months. And tonight, these scenes, the very latest from Paris, you can see that is Place de la Concorde with the needle there from Egypt in the middle. Police, they're in riot gear with water cannon. They seem to be charging towards protesters, and we saw on the streets of Paris there protesters battling the police, battling them as they fire tear gas at them, setting fire to what looked like a car. I couldn't really quite tell what they'd set fire to, but clearly hundreds of police officers and protesters on the streets of Paris tonight.
It would just be a massacre in America. I mean, they don't really fucking... Americans don't get rowdy like that. You know what I mean? Shit is getting tense currently on the de la Concorde. Place de la Concorde. These are sites that we are very familiar with here in the United States of America. Look at all the Antifa. Except the French police pretty much do nothing. I mean, in comparison to American police, yes, they pretty much do nothing. But they still do a lot. What do you mean? They definitely still fucking tear gas you. They also use high pressure water cannons in a lot of European countries. What you gotta remember though is that, like, yes, as I've said before, time and time again, I will repeat myself. In civilized countries, you could kind of fight back a little bit. You can tell if a country is more civilized if you can, like, find footage of people being able to, like, pounce on cops every now and then, which is such a foreign concept for Americans that, like, when I mentioned this, this was probably one of my most hated takes of all time. Okay? One of my most hated takes of all time from Americans was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, you should be able to pounce on cops? Like, no, there is a use of force restriction that does not exist in the United States of America. Okay? That means that the playing field is a little bit more even, which I think is the adequate thing, is the right thing. That's it. You should not have. You should not be fearful of getting mag dumped or having less than lethal, or, you know, less lethal. Let's be real. Rounds fired directly at your head from close distance that can, like, gouge your fucking eye out. Like, yeah, you should be able to definitely engage in self-defense. You can never do that in America, and when you even mention that, people will take it in the worst way possible and go fucking crazy over it. You don't like there being 2 guns for every 1 person in the U.S. and cops using that as an excuse to be kitted up like they're in Donbass? What the fuck? Exactly. They still arrest you for assaulting a police officer, but the penalty is usually a fine here in the U.K. Well, better than the fine in the United States of America where they fucking, you know, the penalty is getting shot in the head. I mean, with cops, it's like, you know, even if you, with cops in America, that's like, 10 to 25, okay? But also, you can still be penalized with death even if you don't fucking shoot a cop. You can be penalized with death even if you're running away from a cop. But yeah, wonderful to see that France, the bastion of democracy, democratic revolution, is going back to its roots, I guess, and doing this very undemocratic thing. Super sick. Let's talk about the widespread flooding and mudslides in the wake of a storm while I go grab my
thousands are under evacuation orders due to the risk of major flooding. The latest weather system has moved on, but water levels remain dangerously high in much of the state. Right now, homes like this one in San Clemente, south of Los Angeles, are teetering on the edge of saturated cliffsides. Carter Evans is south of Santa Cruz, where some people are still waiting to be allowed back into their homes. Carter, good morning.
Good morning, Vlad. This extreme weather clearly has a local impact with all of this flooding, but it could be a national problem. You see, California grows about 3/4 of the country's fruits and nuts. And for example, this is a strawberry farm, and now it's underwater. The crop is ruined, but the soil could also be contaminated, possibly delaying replanting for months.
California farmers appear to be getting
I saw this video. It's crazy.
Sacrificing pickup trucks in an effort to fill a broken levee.
Stop right there, baby. Stop right there. Yes.
Yep.
Right there, yes.
Yep.
The farmer who posted this video says the men were trying to prevent the Tule River in central California from inundating an orchard. On Wednesday, Governor Gavin Newsom surveyed damage in the farming town of Pajaro, the result of a break in a levee that's been neglected for decades.
This is a known
Bro,
problem.
I feel like you look too sexy in this kind of situation. Like, people are not gonna like it. Maybe that's just me, but it does feel like he looks too sexy for this. Like, this is crazy. This is a crazy photo to have taken of you as the governor. You know what I mean? Like, just rough yourself up a little bit, dude. You look too well-groomed. You look too hot. Like, you're going to a fucking... You know what I mean? You're going to a fucking disaster site, you know? Act like it a little bit. What are you, there to fuck all the farmers' wives? Like, what the hell is this shit? Motherfucker went there, hair perfectly coiffed. He's just trying to fuck the mommies out there. Like, oh, yeah, it's really sad what happened to your crops. Maybe I can lay my seed. You are too horny, bro. I mean, dude, around Gavin Newsom, everyone's horny. Fuck you mean you're too horny? What? Look at this man. Look at the way he looks.
Newsom surveyed damage in the farming town of Pajaro, the result of a break in a levee that's been neglected for decades.
This is a known problem. The money is there to fix it. When can people expect to see construction on the solution?
We have a 5 to 7 year timeline that has been pre-established, but based upon this experience, no one has patience for 5 to 7 years.
Across the state, almost 90,000 people are facing evacuation. Christopher Moreno left his home in the middle of the night with no shoes.
What happened with
Gavin Newsom is so funny whenever he does that shit. Like, whenever he talks, notice this. Whenever he talks about a problem in his own state, he'll always assume the role of like a person who's victimized by it. Oh yeah. It's like we had a 7-year timeline, but it's understandable. Nobody wants to wait for 7 years. I'm like, bro, you're the guy. You're not the farmer. Like, what do you mean? He does this shit all the time, bro. Anytime he goes around to like an atrocity happening, he's like, yeah, you know, here in California, we are victimized by gun violence once again. I'm like, bro, you're the governor. Like, what do you mean? He makes it seem like there's someone else out there that's like holding this progress back, you know? Yeah, it's crazy. The homelessness crisis needs to be put to an end. Someone's got to do something. I'm like, you're the guy. You're the someone.
when you went to the shelter?
It was full.
It was full. No room.
No more space.
He's been living in his car for almost a week.
So this is everything you got now?
This is my home for now.
Now the local community is stepping in with clothes and supplies.
What do you want to say to the people who are in charge of all this?
Well, they had to do something fast. I can't imagine what they're going to do or how they're going to survive in here.
You know, all this has left many farm workers out of a job. Now, the governor says they are all immediately eligible for $600 relief checks. If there is any good news to come out of all this, you know, California's been in an extreme drought right now, and people in Southern California have been facing severe water cutbacks.
I love that.
Well,
Yep, we needed it. We needed it. That's my favorite California trope. It's like the entire fucking state could be underwater and motherfuckers be like, we needed it. It's like, okay, no, man, no. There's too much water. There is such a thing, okay? Stop saying we needed this, man. The irony, of course, is that like California unironically deals with this kind of shit so much better than like every other state. It is literally one of the few benefits of like you're saying $600, that's nothing. Yeah, you know what happens when this happens in fucking Missouri, dude? This. Okay? That's what happens. Fuck you mean? They fucking the governor comes over and says, hey, how about you take a look? And he just shows you his ball sack. He's like, come on, take a look now. Come on now, take a look. Take a look at what I got. And then it's just the fucking ball sack from just hanging outside their pants.
Of right now, those restrictions have been lifted for 7 million people. Tony?
Good news, Carter. Thank you very much.
In the aftermath of Silicon Valley Bank's demise and, subsequent revival, there was another bank that was not in America that was certainly underwater, it seemed. Credit Suisse. They just got a $54 billion recovery package from the largest bank in Switzerland.
Overseas.
Oh, I hit the fucking
Fears of a banking crisis are keeping markets on edge this morning, both here and overseas. The stock price of one of Europe's biggest banks, Credit Suisse, plunging 24% to an all-time low Wednesday. That bank also has a big presence here in the U.S. Overnight, the firm announcing that it will borrow up to $54 billion from the Swiss Central Bank to shore up its liquidity and investor confidence. Back here at home, concerns still looming over America's regional banks. First Republic stock diving 21% after its credit rating was downgraded into so-called junk territory. Bloomberg reports the bank is now exploring a potential sale. The head of Wall Street's biggest investment firm, BlackRock, telling The Guardian, this is a slow-rolling crisis with more seizures and shutdowns coming. But analysts say no matter what happens, your bank account is secure.
If you have your money in First Republic, it is still safe. There's an implicit guarantee by the feds over the weekend that said depositors aren't going to get hurt here. We're going to look at all the regional banks and make sure the depositors get their money back.
Despite unfolding turmoil in the financial world, the economy remains strong. New data shows retail sales fell only moderately in February, and wholesale prices posted an unexpected decline. Good news for inflation.
All the indicators and everything under the hood suggest that the inflation should continue to moderate. If we're not at the end of the Federal Reserve's rate hikes, we're getting pretty close.
And all eyes will be on the Federal Reserve when they meet next week. Another interest rate hike was expected before the banks failed. Now some believe the Fed could hold off on that.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, new updates on the Russian fighter jet, by the way. This is pretty funny. The U.S. military released a video of the Russian fighter jet forcing down the U.S. drone by doing a little fart in front of it, doing a little farty boy in front of it.
Ago, we just got dramatic new video from the Pentagon released by the military where you can see a Russian fighter jet as it was approaching the back of the American drone that has now been downed 4,000 to 5,000 feet in the Black Sea. In this video that has just been released moments ago, you can see where this Russian fighter jet is going up to this American drone. It is dumping fuel on it. That is what you're seeing in the video as it's approaching here. Then the jet goes away. It comes back. It dumps more fuel. and then it hits the American drone. It clipped the drone, one of the Russian fighter jets did. That is when you see the color bars there. Ultimately, of course, this is what led up to the downing of this drone we have been following all week since this happened. This interaction that happened on Tuesday, we are told, lasted for over half an hour.
Accident, by the way? No, the accident is actually, if they clipped it, the accident is clipping, not fucking dumping. They do this all the time. It's I thought it was called dogfighting, but people told me that that's not actually dogfighting. Dogfighting is when you genuinely fight. But yes, even over international waters, like when there's territorial disputes and shit like that, pilots will often intercept. Right? They're not there to like actually shoot it down. They're there to just like fuck with it, which they did. They were fucking with it. And then I think one of them, when they were doing a like close pass, I think it might have actually hit it. Dog squirting. Okay, I don't know what the fuck it's called. Okay, shut up. But yeah, their intention is not to like actually shoot it down. If they wanted to shoot it down, they wouldn't get this close. They would have just shot it. It's not supposed to be combat. But I think like they might have accidentally hit it. That's why I said it was an accident.
Now, of course, that U.S. drone was forced to be downed in the Black Sea. General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, says it's about 4,000 to 5,000 feet beneath the water. The Russians are actively trying to retrieve it right now amid questions about what they could glean from it if they do. CNN's Natasha Bertrand is live at the Pentagon with more. Natasha, I mean, just watching this video is amazing in and of itself to see these two Russian fighter jets come up to this American drone, this Reaper drone, dump fuel on it, clip it. That has led to this dramatic escalation.
Our big, beautiful drones.
It is remarkable, Caitlin, and let's just remember what the Russians have been saying about this incident. The Russians have been insisting that that fighter jet, the Russian fighter jet, did not ever make contact with that drone. Well, now we can see that the video really does belie that explanation. We're seeing that the fighter jet actually comes up extremely close to the drone. You're watching it right there, starts releasing a lot of jet fuel, as U.S. officials had said it did. It hits that drone. That is when the camera footage goes out. And then when the camera footage reappears, you can see that the propeller of that drone is damaged. And that is exactly the sequence of events that U.S. officials had laid out, calling this behavior by the pilots extremely reckless and dangerous. I mean, this is just really remarkable. This is something that is so unusual to see, because usually when these fighter jets intercept these drones, they kind of just fly alongside them. And this fighter jet did do that. It flew beside this drone for about 30 to 40.
It absolutely is not unusual. What are they saying? Maybe it's because I'm fucking Turkish and this shit happens between the Turkish and the Greek Air Force all the fucking time. But like, it is literally the most usual thing. Yeah, and sometimes when they're dicking around, they accidentally fucking hit one another or tap one another. Not with like a missile or anything, but yeah. Brother, in America, we literally used like a howitzer missile on a fucking balloon club balloon like 2 weeks ago. What the fuck are you talking about? Like aerial fucking saber rattling is one of the most common things that happens all the time. Especially during like when we're intercepting flights that are on disputed territory, or flights that like whatever nation state considers to be dangerous. Not a howitzer, sorry, a sidewinder. Whatever, fuck, it's a howitzer. Aerial shenanigans. Dude, stop acting like Turkish and Greece jets dumps fuel and do stupid stuff like this. Wait, what? It is. What do you mean? They were fucking around and they made and it was an accident. They made a oopsie. What? No, they don't. Bro, you know they like sometimes down each other, right? Like while they're not dogfighting, but when they're doing this kind of like, when they're engaging in this kind of fuckery, sometimes they end up accidentally dropping a plane, right? When they're, I guess, skirmishing or intercepting one another. It happens. Nah, bro. That's straight up aggression. Okay. Well, the Pentagon's not in support of your sentiment. So remember, the media saying one thing and the Pentagon saying an entirely different thing you probably should look at the more responsible party in this circumstance. But once again, remember yesterday when I was covering this story and I said this is like a non-issue, and even the Pentagon, it seems, is saying that it's a non-issue. And I told you that, like, it seems like even Americans in my chat are not, hitting the fucking NATO line. And then I told you yesterday that I'm sure once they get their fucking news media coverage of this, they'll come into the chat and start chirping about how this is the most important thing. NatSec Twitter is in here now, folks. We're here. This is the most important thing that could have ever happened. Hasan sticking up for the Pentagon was not on my bingo card law. I mean, yeah, when they engage in, like, the ironic de-escalation, okay, the unusual de-escalation, yeah, I will abide by what they're stating. I literally told you guys that what is happening today, right now, in my chat with people being like, Hasan, you're fucking wrong. This is literally the most aggressive action that anyone could have ever taken in the history of downed pilots, to literally a Turkish guy coming from a country that, like, actually downed a Russian plane, like, deliberately. I know the difference, bro. I know the difference when pilots accidentally clip one another and, like, down a fucking flight that's, like, manned by a human versus a drone that they're fuel dumping in front of versus directly blowing one out of the fucking sky. But yeah, if I could find the fucking clip of me calling out all the NatSec Andes one day ahead, it's like they get their fucking information from CNN. They don't even want to listen to what the Pentagon is saying or what that means. They just immediately go, MSNBC and CNN told me this is an unusual escalation, an unusual act of gross aggression against America. And then you are such a fucking American chauvinist for the state, for the military state, that you turn around and you're like, no, dude, what the fuck? This is disrespectful to our military might.
30 minutes before actually speeding up right next to the drone, as you saw there, and starting to dump jet fuel on it. That is the moment when U.S. officials say they realized that something was really, really wrong here. As we have seen over the last couple days, U.S. officials have made really, really strict protests to the Russians about this incident, saying that it is completely unacceptable, that it could have endangered the pilots, of course, of that fighter jet, and of course that it violates the U.S.'s right to conduct these kinds of surveillance missions over the Black Sea and over international waters and over in international airspace. But again, this just really...
Like, what do they think? Do they think that this was like, they wanted to fucking, they wanted to hit the plane deliberately? But like, what? Are they out of bullets? Is that why? Do you think the Russian fighter jets are out of missiles, so they couldn't down it directly? Is that what you think was going on? Like, honestly, just think about it for a second. Like, what do you... Oh, man. Oh, suka blyat. We don't have any bullets. We use it all in Donbass. What are we going to do? Okay, dump the fuel. No, they're fucking around. Yeah. NatSec Twitter Andes, when they find out that, like, every fucking flight is basically communicated amongst these two nation states, even though they're currently engaging in a proxy war. What? You mean to tell me we're telling the Russians whenever our flights are in that fucking territory? What? And vice versa? Shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's right. They do that. Accident versus deliberate? What are you even on about? What do you mean? This is before we even talk about, like, what the fuck the American drone is doing there, but...
It really belies the Russian explanation for what happened here. Again, they had insisted that the Russian fighter jet did not hit that drone, but you can see pretty clearly right after that footage goes out, when the camera goes out, that the propeller is damaged. That really could have only been done by an impact from that plane, Caitlin.
Yeah, Natasha, thank you. And Don Poppy, I mean, as we're just watching this video, it's remarkable. And I want to remind people that yesterday we heard from the Pentagon, and they said that it was clear that the dumping of the fuel was intentional, but when it comes to the actual physical contact that they made, they weren't sure whether or not that was intentional. I mean, Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Donna Poppy, was being asked if he believed this was an act of war. He said he wasn't prepared to go there yet. But these are the kinds of questions they're facing over this video that you're seeing here.
And that's what John Kirby said yesterday. They had to be careful because they didn't want this war to escalate into...
Our fucking they-them woke generals at it again.
Something else. And if you look at this video, there are big questions about whether or not it was intentional, because this is only 40 seconds of something that lasted for 30 to 40 minutes. So unintentional, 30 to 40 minutes. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's stand by. We're going to check back in now with it in a moment.
Right. With experts on it, CNN military analyst, former member of the Joint Staff at the...
I'm surprised they haven't talked about the property damage. The worst kind of crime is property crime. The worst kind of crime is obviously like hurting America's feelings, let's be real, or threatening America's hegemony, threatening America's power status. That is what's like the most fucked up part of this, okay? They put our drone down, brother. What the fuck? You know? That's unacceptable, right? That's like the most unacceptable shit. Yeah, let's go to our general to talk about how devastating this is now.
Pentagon.
Let's go to the fucking general to talk about how devastating it is and like assume a position that is to the fucking further to the right. Let's go to our former general Raytheon lobbyist, Raytheon salesman to talk about how fucked up this is so he can tell us like how war should definitely happen. Maybe he won't say that, but usually that's how this goes. If you got fucking Mark Milley being like, guys, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. It was most likely an accident. Why the fuck is CNN constantly like, no, it's not an accident. It's deliberate, right? It's got to be a deliberate reason, right? Here, let's go ask General McFuckface, who currently is getting a $700,000 a year salary from Raytheon. How much more Raytheon missiles we need to further extend our war, to further extend our aggressive stance in the Black Sea?
Retired Colonel Cedric Layton is here, also CNN Chief White House Correspondent Phil Mattingly. Thanks both very much for being here. Phil, let me just go to you first.
If I had, sorry, I know I'm pausing a lot. If I had like one like minor tweak that I could do by design, I'd pass legislation that dictated that these fucking assholes that go on television have to wear like a NASCAR jacket with patches on it, showing exactly who their daddy is. Okay? I hate it when they go, oh, this is retired former, brigadier general, admiral, nuclear submarine commander. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything because right now he's literally working for Northrop Grumman. You know what I mean? Like he's there at the behest of Northrop Grumman. He's there because he has contracts. He's doing lobbying work for Northrop Grumman. Say that. That is important. That is an important part of this conversation.
First, you're reporting, you're usually joining us from the White House. This was a decision by the U.S. military to release the video. They didn't have to.
But you see why.
Yes.
Right? And I think they knew that the Russians were going to have a different version of events. I think that was both expected and happened very quickly. And it was very clear over the course of the last 36, 48 hours that they both thought this video proved their point and were trying to work through the process of actually getting this out in the public. And I think if you watch this video, and obviously this just broke, we've all been watching it at the same time, it very much backs up what U.S. officials had been telling us over the course of the last several days. And I think underscores the very palpable concern you heard from U.S. officials that this is a different level of escalation. These intercepts in and of themselves are not rare. That is rare. What you're watching on camera right now is rare and not something that happens often. You've seen the response from the administration, whether it's Secretary of Defense Austin, General Milley, as Caitlin was saying, they've all reached out to their counterparts. The ambassador was taken to the State Department to raise the issues, severe objections. Right. What they are not trying to do is escalate things, but they do want to prove their point. And I think this is what they're doing with this video.
Cedric Layton, I want to bring you in. Does this back up what the U.S. has been saying, that this was, in fact, indeed intentional?
Well, yeah, I think so, Don. Good morning to you. Yeah, it looks like the way the Russian aircraft, the Su-27, is coming into the drone, it's very deliberately going after the drone. And when you see the video and you see it come through right here, you look at the way it's appearing in the camera from the Reaper, from the MQ-9, it comes up really close. And then you see the propeller. It looks normal at this point in time, but when you look at the propeller afterwards, you will see that bent blade, and that is very clearly a deliberate act. The way this aircraft is coming in to the drone, and you see that bent blade right there. Clearly something happened, and it had to have been some kind of an impact.
I'm sorry. It looks so funny. It looks like I don't know why. It looks like a fish who got its like little baby wing clipped or something. You know what I mean?
I don't think
Also, big L for whatever the fucking drone manufacturer is that like a little bit of a clip on the propeller like that causes this thing to fucking fall into the Black Sea. What the hell? It's got other propellers, dog. What's happening? There's no fucking there's no additional systems that could keep it afloat. That's wild.
While the fuel spill on top of the aircraft, on top of the MQ-9 would have been significant, I don't think it would have caused that damage without there actually being metal on metal contact.
I'm so glad you pointed that out, because if we can pull that picture back up, you actually see that one of those, I'm sorry, I don't have the technical term, is like half the length of the one on the, the propeller on the opposite side. I think it's amazing, Cedric, that this lasted 30 to 40 minutes.
Get Marat's perspective on it. He will fucking scream at me. If he saw me shitting on American drones, he would lose his shit. I mean, he doesn't work on drones. He does spaceships. But he has often talked about how, like American drones are basically like the fucking, like the Lamborghinis of drones. Versus like Bayraktar is like a affordable Toyota Corolla. You know what I mean?
Yes. So when these things happen, when an intercept occurs, Poppy, what the aircraft comes up to the target that it's looking for, and it takes a while to identify the target. In this case, the Russian pilots would have said, "Okay, this is a drone." They would have probably identified it as an MQ-9. They would have then reported back to their ground controllers. The ground controllers would probably have directed them to go back to circle the drone, and they may have also directed them to do these more aggressive passes. And that will be key. If we can find out whether or not the ground controllers directed the pilots to make these aggressive passes, that then would have clearly indicated that this was a very deliberate action.
The American drone was in international airspace when it was illegally attacked in international airspace by a Russian aircraft. Yeah, that's why I'm not saying Russia has every right to shoot it down. I'm saying that it's most likely an accident. I don't know why you have to lose your fucking mind over it, when what I'm saying is basically repeating what the Pentagon is saying as well. Yeah, it's reckless behavior. Interceptions are commonplace on international waters as well, regardless. We're not going to ask the question as to why an American drone is literally in the Black Sea. I guess you could ask that question. What's that about? But who knows? You can't compare shooting down a Chinese craft in our own airspace to that. Well, also, I literally thought that it was valid to shoot down the Chinese balloon. You know, I was talking about how funny it is that America literally shut down a child's balloon, like a little school group, like the balloon club's balloon. Clearly Russia's doing Russian stuff and not some crazy act of war. Pilot was probably drunk. I mean, I don't know about the pilot being drunk, but yeah, we're in agreement. Anybody that tries to turn this into a much larger issue is very likely just fucking posturing. For a better chatting experience, type /block the Faustini. It doesn't matter, because when he says some dumb shit in the chat, I'm probably still going to respond to it.
Phil, that drone now thousands of feet below sea level and in the Black Sea, on its way down to U.S. officials.
Hi, Russian plane expert here. What's happening in that video is bad. They only dump fuel when under immense stress. Yeah, a lot of you guys think that this this Russian fighter jet is actually having a good time. Well, I'm here to be the bearer of bad news. Crocodile, it's the fucking tweet that they're referencing that someone chimes in on every fucking month.
Saying that the operators remotely wiped the drone's sensitive software, which mitigates the risk of secret material falling into the enemy's hands before it crashed in the water. And obviously they got the video as well. Yesterday, we had Kirby on, and he was saying, well, they weren't sure. They did everything to try to mitigate that. But now they're saying they did. So I guess if they got this video, they got the information as well and were able to wipe it.
And they were able, this is part of when they utilize these drones, particularly for intelligence collection purposes, they are able to get pretty real-time feeds or access to what the information is in the moment.
They're watching this in real time?
They can.
Wow.
It depends on how things are structured. One of the issues that they were concerned about, besides the fact that this is a very expensive piece of military property, is just ensuring, look, we don't have naval assets in the Black Sea. We are not able to send, the U.S. is not able to send their people to try and pick this up. They thought from the early stages that this likely fell very, very deep and would have been very difficult to pick up no matter what. But as I think Oren Lieberman, our colleague, reported, they made sure that they could wipe all their systems. Kind of an internal self-destruct without the explosion, if you're trying to think through Mission Impossible type stuff, to ensure that if the Russians, which have made very clear they're trying to find this, trying to pick this up, if they do, what little is left of it will not be of any intelligence value.
Yeah. It's just you say Mission Impossible. I mean, people waking up to this morning, this looks like out of Top Gun, but it's real and it's between the United States and Russia.
Now to Texas.
I love that. It's just a fun little story, just like agitating for or advocating for like possible war. You know what I mean? You're in the new.
Got a rich dude, bro, exposed on video.
Guess who wants to punish poor kids? Hasanabi, Ben Shapiro, eat at night in today's news. What the fuck? I don't want to punish. He's making it seem like in the Thumbo, he makes it seem like I'm trying to punish kids.
.com/DeFranco. And then hungry people don't exist because I've never met one. That's literally what Minnesota Republican State Senator Steve Drazkowski said to argue against a bill that would provide universal free breakfasts and lunches to all public school students.
I have yet to meet a person in Minnesota that is hungry.
Bro, for real though, yeah, exactly.
Yet today, I have yet to meet a person in Minnesota that says they don't have access to enough food to eat. Now, I should say that hunger is a relative term, Mr.
He's like, I run away. He's like, I run away from the poor all the time. And yes, while my policies imply that if I am able to see a poor person, if I'm forced to see a poor in the flesh, that means I should legally be able to turn them into biomatter. It technically is true that I have yet to see a poor anywhere.
Mr. President, you know, I had a cereal bar for breakfast. I guess I'm hungry now.
Oh, there's so many douchebags in this story. Imagine having the audacity to say that, period. But the fact that this man is a politician, it really brings the insane stupidity to another level. I'm starting to feel like if you've never been poor, you shouldn't be able to take a public office. Because this schmuck's full-throated admission of being completely out of touch with the people that he represents is wild. Right? I'm not talking about feelings here. I'm talking about data. Specifically, data from the Hunger Free Schools campaign showing that 1 in 6 children in Minnesota is food insecure. But also, 25% of those children are not eligible to get financial help with school meals because it's a means-tested program, which is exactly why supporters of the bill say it is needed because it can close the gap for families in Minnesota that don't qualify for free or reduced school meals but still struggle to pay for them. And what's more, according to Democrat Senator Heather Gustafson, who wrote the bill, 1 in 5 students in Senator Drazkowski's district qualifies for free and reduced lunch. But also, unsurprisingly, that wasn't the only stupid thing Drazkowski—
I'm sorry. He said he's never met them. Technically, he's right.
said regarding the bill. He also argued the estimated $200 million a year the measure is estimated to cost.
It's so funny, dude. It literally is like, if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. Like, that's insane. Like, you're not a baby, dog. You're not saying go, go, gaga. What is this, like, object permanence shit, dude? Like, it's literally, this part of your brain should have been fixed by the time you're like 3 or 4. You know what I mean? It's like when you hide your face and the baby goes, oh no, I guess this person never existed. You know what I mean? And then you open up your face again. It's like, oh, you're here again. How did that happen? Where'd you go? Motherfucker, you could peekaboo this guy. I got your nose, this motherfucker. And he'd be like, oh my God, he got my nose. The goddamn neo-Marxist postmodernist got my fucking nose. Give it back. Oh, what am I to do without my nose? I can't breathe no more. They took my nose. Like, how do you say that? How do you say that? How do you fucking say? How do you get up there and in a legislative session be like, I've never seen a poor, hungry child, so it doesn't exist.
Costs would be better spent on addressing learning issues at schools. But as Gustafson pointed out, this will do exactly that, saying being hungry makes learning almost impossible. There is no worksheet or assignment, test, or project that will matter to a student who hasn't had anything to eat, right? And studies have shown time and time again that kids fucking need food to be able to learn and focus, and feeding students actually helps performance. Beyond that, $200 million a year in this specific context is not very much to provide every single public school kid 2 free meals 5 days a week, especially when you consider the fact that education receives the second biggest amount of funding in Minnesota's budget, and that the state lawmakers are working with a $17.5 billion budget surplus this year. Now, all that said, the good news here is that the Senate did actually pass the bill, and since it's already been passed in the House, it's now expected to be signed into law by the Democratic governor. But Truskowski wasn't the only person saying stupid shit about school lunches and child hunger this week. You also had this clip of Ben Shapalapa Ding Dong going viral where he's arguing against making school lunches free.
School lunches are not going to solve the problem of child hunger at any serious level. If there is a problem of children actually starving, that is a child endangerment scenario to which CPS needs to be called. If you're talking about like actual child starving.
I cannot understand how unimaginably stupid this was. Like, how did he not feel embarrassed to just like come out of the gate swinging with that? And then he ended up doubling down on it too. Like, it blows my mind. By the way, I'm not even serious. I'm not even kidding. If you are one of these people who like supposedly espouses that they're leftist or like supposedly is like ostensibly on the left or whatever, and you fucking spend all of your time talking about like Hasan once said famously that he predicted that Russia would not invade Ukraine. And it's been a fucking year and you still talk about that instead of literally shoveling these statements from Ben Shapiro down his goddamn gullet every fucking day. You're not a leftist, okay? You're just a fucking drama pervert, okay? I mean, that's insane. This guy gets away with saying whatever the fuck he wants. I made one wrong fucking prediction with a sound analysis attached to it. And all these fucking weird drama perverts still bring it up. Not even waiting for Chad to say it anymore. Zero guide. No, I mean, we were talking about the NatSec shit earlier. It's crazy. It's crazy. Focus your fucking efforts on something that matters, okay? This piece of shit literally said there are 9 million children in this country that are food insecure, okay? 9 million. We need to bring in the big government, bust down 9 million fucking doors, and forcibly kidnap those children from their parents. Like, how do you pay the CPS? It's still taxpayer funded. He's literally saying, I don't want my taxes to fund the much cheaper initiative that's going to actually feed the children. I want them to instead fund the more expensive initiative, which is going to put these fucking kids in the foster care system away from their family members, dude. Like, he wants to spend more money to rob these fucking children of their future. That's insane. One of the more evil things I've ever heard. Protect the children, by the way. Save the children, by the way.
Starvation. The truth is, it does not take that much money to feed a child. I know I have
also wrong. That's right. It's not hard to feed your kids. There's no excuse. Just become a massively successful grifter. Stoke the flames of a culture war. Peddle in intellectually dishonest or ignorant opinions. Get a career based off of dunking on teenagers who don't have a college degree yet. And boom, you could feed 3 kids like Ben. Also, I just love that the core of this argument is, the government shouldn't be stepping in and paying for these kids' lunches. If the parents can't pay for the kids to eat, we should pay people to take those kids out of the home, place them somewhere where all of a sudden the care for that child is also subsidized. But I'm also getting ahead of myself because, he's just factually wrong on multiple levels. First of all, he's totally mischaracterizing the situation. Kids can be food insecure or hungry without being physically starved, right? That's on the very extreme end of a very big spectrum. What's more, he's wrong that school lunches don't have an impact on child hunger, especially for families dealing with sky-high food prices due to inflation combined with the winding down of many pandemic-era programs that help reduce household hunger nationwide to the lowest ever. And these universal free lunch programs in particular are incredibly impactful. If you don't know, during the pandemic, the Department of Agriculture waived school meal eligibility requirements so schools could offer free meals for all students. And according to a study by the Food Research and Action Center, 95% of school nutrition staff surveyed said that the waivers helped reduce child hunger in their districts during the 2021-22 school year. Beyond that, school lunches make up a lot of the meals that students have, which is also something Representative Ted Lieu put really well in a tweet responding to Benny Boy's absolute dumb fuckery. Dear Ben Shapiro, your remarks are dumb. Let's do math. Say a kid should eat 21 meals a week. School lunches provide 5 of those meals, solving nearly 1/4 of the problem.
I hated Ted Lieu's response. Like, he should just fucking said, you're a dumbass, you're an animal, you're a monster, and I'm glad you left my state and you should go to jail. That's what I would do if I was a senator. I'd be like, I'm going to throw you in jail. I don't even have the power to do so, but I'm just going to say I'm going to throw you in jail anyway.
That's pretty good. Oh, and how about you miss one of your meals 5 days a week and see how you feel? And keep in mind with Ted, that's just him talking about
Like,
school.
why the fuck would you want to debate this animal, dude? Like, literally a demon. Like, he just straight up said, let's spend more money fucking kidnapping children than feeding them. Jail.
Lunches. Right, just in 2019, the Agriculture Department also funded $2.5 billion free or low-cost breakfast to kids in need. And for universal free lunch programs that also provide free breakfast like California's and the one expected to go into effect in Minnesota, we're talking about kids getting almost half their meals at school. Also, going back to Shapiro saying Child Protective Services needs to get involved, I'm in no way the only one calling that out. With this group, including the likes of Hasan Piker, who tweeted, 9 million children in the richest nation on earth live in food insecure homes. Mr. Protect Our Kids claims the best thing for the small government to do is kidnap them and put them in the foster care system instead of offering free lunches or child tax credits. It's probably way more expensive to fund enough resources to track down all the kids who are hungry and then find them homes or whatever the fuck this plan is, than just help feed them at school. And I say this not as just an outsider, right? I'm doing well for myself. I'm not going to act like I'm the most connected to Joe Blow guy. But I grew up poor. I took advantage of free lunches at times. And it will never not infuriate me that people that seemingly are ignorant and have no empathy whatsoever have these massive audiences where it would make more sense to rip me away from my parents who were trying to bounce back at the time than to support a social safety net that is specifically meant to help the kids. And to bring it back to the core story with Minnesota, in a state where the $200 million is a tiny little fraction of the surplus. But hey, that's
literally cheaper to fucking feed children, and Ben is still advocating against it out of the principle of advocating against it because he's a fucking demon, dog. He's out of his fucking mind. Oh my God, this guy thinks it's good to militarize children. What is this? While America's focused on indoctrinating our children with rainbows and pronouns, our adversaries are training children to be warriors. American world dominance is dwindling and the future is not pretty. This is an old ass video, bro. And this is like a highly specific thing. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you think they're teaching every child in Russia how to use like fucking AK-47s at school? Like, what are you, stupid? Like, what the fuck kind of, oh my God. Teaching them how to use a 1987 AK. Wait till you see what's going on in the Chinese hospitals, dude. Yeah. Yeah, they're doing dick milking. I swear, I saw it. They have a dick sucking factory, guys. Trust me. Please believe me. If you go to China, stay away from the dick sucking factory.
Where a conservative federal judge may soon issue a ruling that would block access to a long-approved abortion pill nationwide. The pill has been available for 2 decades, and it's the most common method of abortion in the United States. Christina Ruffini is outside the courthouse in Amarillo, Texas. Christina, good morning.
Amarillo.
Good morning. Access to this case was extremely limited, fewer than 40 seats in the courtroom and no publicly available live stream or audio feed for a case that could have wide-ranging nationwide implications. Our choice! A handful of pro-abortion rights demonstrators stood outside the federal courthouse in Amarillo.
Access to medication abortion is one of the last options that we have.
While inside, an anti-abortion rights group called the Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine argued the court should reverse the FDA approval for the drug mifepristone. The medication, approved up to the 10th week of pregnancy, is part of a two-step medical abortion process that makes up 53% of abortions in the United States. The organization made its case in front of Judge Matthew Kaczmarek, a Trump appointee, that the FDA incorrectly approved the drug through an accelerated process and said it presents a danger to women. The FDA says the drug, which has been used in the United States for more than 2 decades, went through a rigorous 4-year approval process and says 99% of patients are treated without an adverse reaction.
Yeah, the danger it presents to women is freedom, okay? Bodily autonomy, which is very dangerous. Women, if they take this and they want to get an abortion and they take this pill, you know, I'm just going to let you know they can go out and shop. Women be shopping. You know, that is terrifying. It's a terrifying prospect. Nothing more terrifying than women having the fucking autonomy. Yeah. Unlike pregnancy, which has never been bad. Interesting you say that because new studies recently came out, actually, as a matter of fact, today, that the United States still consistently ranking the #1 worst place to be a woman who is pregnant and has to have a child. Not only is it incredibly costly, but also the maternal mortality rate is the highest in OECD nations by the widest of margins. Those numbers are also additionally devastating when you consider the disparity between black maternal mortality rates versus white maternal mortality rates. It's like almost 50% higher, for the record. Really cool stuff. So, like, no, actually, you know what's fucking devastating? Being like a working class mom, okay? And then being impregnated, not wanting to carry a pregnancy to term, but being forced to do so, and then fucking dying. This is old. There's a new one that just came out. There's a new one that came out literally today. Yeah. U.S. maternal death rate rose sharply in 2021, CDC data shows, and experts worry the problem's getting worse. Also, maternal mortality rate among black women was more than double the average. What are the base news sites? Seems like everyone is super biased. Brother, this is it. Like, as much as I fucking hate CNN, like, this is a study. You know what I mean? This is like federal data. What do you want? They have every interest in, like, lying about the truth here, just like they have every interest in telling you that there is no top of the hour ad break when there is one. So when a government study tells you that, like, oh no, we're dog shit, actually, when federal data tells you we're fucking literally dog shit, that's how you know we are. When the Twitch streamer tells you that at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. That's just how it's going to go. Because at the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you do need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free, or by getting gifted a sub. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Altahan Turk, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Sequoia Jumper, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Anyway, really cool stuff happening here in Texas. Love that. Very fun. There is no God. There is no justice. There is no honesty. There is no integrity. If any of these things legitimately existed, the people that do things like this would be severely punished. And I don't mean like, oh, punished as in like they're going to be fucking crazy and alone for the rest of their lives and never experience the love of like their grandchildren or anything like that. I mean, like, straight up, they would be in Dante's Inferno, 7th layer, eyeballs getting fucking sucked out, only to be placed back in with like rusty nails over and over again every single fucking waking moment, to just experience a crumb of the pain and suffering that they've brought on to millions of others. Okay, that is the kind of punishment that would happen in a world where there was real karmic justice. But of course, there is no real karmic justice. It's just us. We're in fucking purgatory. We're constantly in this like never-ending tug of war where all the most awful demons get to have all the fucking power and they never die. Sorry. I don't know why I popped off this hard, but it like literally blows my mind that there are just so many people who are like, it's not enough that we have criminalized abortion in this red state. We want to make sure you can't even get a fucking pill. Like, we want to make it impossible. We want to make sure your pregnancies are forcibly carried to term. When I see someone like that, it makes me lose my mind. I want to pull a fucking mountain. You know what I mean? I want to fucking, what's it to you? You absolute pathetic, psychopathic, awful demon. What is it to you? There is nothing there other than furthering cruelty. You know what I mean? There's nothing there for you. You're just doing it specifically to harm others. I hope your life is even more shit than it actually is currently. Oh my fucking God.
Is that the goal, to make it harder to get an abortion for women?
That's definitely not the goal.
John Seago is the president of Texas Right to Life.
But when the FDA looks at what they're...
Like this fucking piece of shit. Fuck you, dude. You are unfuckable anyway. Nobody gives a shit. This is not for you. You don't have a pussy. This is not for you. You are unfuckable, you gigantic... You fucking loser.
Job is they need to start over and they need to do the due diligence on this abortion-inducing drug.
The drug is currently available by mail, even in states where abortion is.
If abortion is murder, why wouldn't that be the goal? Man, of course abortion's not murder. Shut the fuck up. Stop trying to justify this dumbass bullshit, dude. What kind of dumb shit is this? You literally mix and match different kinds of fabric every goddamn day. I hope the hell is real, and I hope the Bible is true so you can go to fucking hell, okay? You can burn in eternal damnation for even trying to fucking contemplate the Republican side and do this dumbass fucking devil's advocate bullshit. I hate it. I hate it, okay? Shut the fuck up. Stop trying to justify their perspective. I know what their perspective is. It's false. If abortion was truly murder, there would be no exceptions for rape or incest, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I misunderstand what you were saying? You were talking about this fucking dipshit's argument. I apologize. Tensions are high. I'm sorry. Anyway. Poor chatter. I apologize. Shut up. That chatter knows I'm not fucking shitting on them. I'm shitting on what I thought that they were representing in this situation, which is like the idiotic right-wing perspective. I'm a leftist. I've been a fan for years. Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's continue.
Diligence on this abortion-inducing drug.
The drug is currently...
If I keep watching this, I'm gonna get banned. I'm not even kidding. A meanie bobini? Bitch, you don't even know how fucking mean I could get. I'm at like 30%. I'm trying to hold myself back as best as I can. You've literally clicked on me and agreed before, bro. Let me out. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I did not understand. I thought you were fucking defending the right-wing position. How am I supposed to know? There's fucking 30,000 people in here. I said I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Clearly, I didn't mean you. I was talking about the fucking right-wing take. Only 28K, not an excuse. Yeah, I know. It's okay. I still love you, Lamau. But if you do have that kind of perspective in this chat, unironically, do not say it in the chat. I will pop off on you, okay? Holy fuck. God, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Available by mail, even in states where abortion is illegal. But this...
I have this perspective, not gonna lie. Yeah, shut the fuck up, comrade orthosurgeon. You've been like annoying me since yesterday. Every now and then, a new fucking dipshit comes into the chat and turns around and like starts trying to make a name for themselves by just being constantly doing this. Okay? Yeah, shut up. How about you enjoy that? Okay? Sit on that fucking perma for a second.
This decision could impact its availability nationwide.
It could have ripple effects in every state, not just in states that want to ban abortion.
Now, during the hearing, the judge appeared to issue questions that seemed sympathetic towards the anti-abortion rights group, but didn't say anything to reveal his position. Adriana, he says he hopes to have his decision as soon as possible.
Anyway, we're going to do fun. We're going to do fun. We're going to do fun. We'll look at the artificial intelligence thing, and then we'll get to fun, okay? I'm talking, oh, fuck. Okay, maybe the woke one, and maybe this. God, I love the news so much. What the fuck is wrong with me? I love doing the news too much, okay? There's something wrong with my fucking brain that, like, in my opinion, I'm like, I got to do more fun stuff. I got to do more fun coverage. And then it's like, I look at Ben Shapiro. Here's Ben Shapiro.
Woke doesn't actually exist.
Wokeness.
So yesterday, there was a clip that went viral. I understand that anytime someone freezes on TV, it goes viral. But this was going viral as evidence that the right doesn't know what wokeness is, which is unbelievably stupid. The right does know, in fact, what wokeness is. So for many people who don't spend their lives in this, wokeness, it's sort of like Justice Potter Stewart said about pornography. You know it when you see it. But
okay, never mind. He's like, everybody knows what wokeness is, which is why I'm going to tell you one of the most iconic instances of like not knowing what a thing is. It's like not well defined. Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, so you can't define it. Okay. I can't define it. But for some reason you just said you can define it. All right, I got to go pee, but
I think the way that it bleeds down to most people is essentially weaponized political correctness. It's political correctness with a new equity guise. Well, Bethany Mandel who is the author of a new book called Stolen Youth with DW Books. It is now a national bestseller. She was on a show called Rising with Brianna Joy Gray. The lead up to this particular clip, and I called Bethany to ask her about it. The lead up to this particular clip apparently was that off the air, Brianna Joy Gray was saying on a hot mic that Bethany could hear about how much she really does not like parents and thinks that parents have kids as an act of narcissism and stuff. Bethany happens to be a mother of 7, including a mother of 6, including a newborn. In any case, that threw her off. But this clip went viral, not just because it's always, good TV when someone freezes up or has a bad moment on TV, but because the left used this as evidence that the right has been using wokeness as sort of a catch-all term that means nothing in order to rip on people, which is not true. Here's the clip, and then we'll discuss Bethany's actual definition.
And probably fewer of them consider themselves to be woke. And so, when we talk about traditional...
What does that mean to you? Would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So, woke is sort of the idea that...
Guys, you don't understand. She was triggered, okay? She was triggered. You don't understand. You don't get it. She just couldn't think for herself, even though she wrote a book about it.
This is going to be one of those moments that goes viral. Woke is something that's very hard to define, and we've spent an entire chapter defining it. It is sort of the understanding that we need to totally reimagine and redo society in order to create hierarchies of oppression. It's hard to explain in a 15-second soundbite.
No, it's not.
Okay, so the left said, oh my gosh, she couldn't explain it in a 15-second soundbite. So later, Bethany tweeted out her definition of wokeness, which, again, there is a real definition of wokeness. I've given it myself. I've given full speeches on it. Bethany tweeted out, quote, a radical belief system suggesting that our institutions are built around discrimination and claiming that all disparity is a result of that discrimination. It seeks a radical redefinition of society in which equality of group result is the endpoint enforced by an angry mob. That's a pretty good definition. So again, there are a bunch of definitions of wokeness, but they all share these same common features, right? It is the equity claim of the Biden administration that anytime you see an imbalance in life, that is due to evils in the system that must be destroyed because the systems are actually systems of oppression and power. That's what it means. But the left started trotting this thing around in order to claim that wokeness doesn't actually.
I just don't get it. Okay, one, not only is the systems of injustice set in place, and that is true, but two, are you against it? And it doesn't even matter because no one can really agree on it either. Pretty entertaining to see conservative pundits confidently claim that woke is an obvious, concrete, simple definition, but then still stumble over each other and disagree about what it actually means. Yeah, a radical belief system. Here's my version. Wokeness, an ideology that imposes identity politics, social justice, thought policing, climate hysteria, neo-racism, queer pedagogy, and socialist equity using statist, corporatist, cultural enforcement. It's the new term for politically correct. I'm partial to this wider-ranging definitions as Robbie Starbuck. See many on the left repeating the variation of the right can't even define what woke is, and I'm not sure where they go. That because it's quite simple to define. Yeah, they keep saying it's quite simple to define, and then they just run to define, everything pretty much that they don't like. It doesn't matter. Okay, we know what it is. It's just whatever the right doesn't like. That's it. And in most instances, it just means black or people who are aligned with black people. That's it. That's what is woke, okay? Yeah, wokeness is just being not conservative.
And this is just high-level gaslighting. The notion that the right has no idea what wokeness is just a way for them to avoid the consequences of their own crap woke policies. So, for example, there's a piece by Philip Bump, wildly dishonest columnist for the Washington Post, titled "A Viral Moment Reinforces the Hollowness of Woke as an Attack." Mandel had been asked a seemingly simple question by Gray. She was on the show to promote a book she wrote with another conservative writer, Carol Markowitz, a book that purports to demonstrate how radicals are indoctrinating young people in America. And then he quotes her. And then he says, we might rephrase that slightly. Woke, as often deployed by the right, refers to something emanating from or related to culture war issues that you understand as or want to portray as bad. Right? So vagueness of woke is a pejorative. Has come into relief in recent days, et cetera, et cetera. So woke doesn't actually exist. So you guys coined the term, and you guys defined the term, and then you guys expanded the term so that it applies to virtually everything. And then when Bethany freezes on TV, that means wokeness.
Wait, what? Brother, Wokeness in the way that it has entered the lexicon now by the right is entirely different than how it started. The fuck do you mean? Wokeness just meant people who are aware of the social inequalities that exist in society. That's it. It was slang. That's it. That's what it was originally. But of course, I mean, white people stole it from black people immediately and then flipped it on whatever the fuck. POC invented stay woke and these motherfuckers stole it. I wish we could reclaim it somehow. No, it's just so cringe now. There's no reclaiming it at that point. It's so commoditized. I mean, I literally was called Woke Bay, and I very openly talked about that, the disdain I have for that so many times. Like, the concept of wokeness was like just a impossible thing. And it was just basically marketing. It's a marketing term.
This doesn't exist. You know, this stupid game, it may obscure for the moment what exactly you are trying to do, but it doesn't actually obscure your policy. And that's the thing.
Yes, it does. It quite literally does. The fuck do you mean? If you launch a conquest against like some undecipherable, indiscernible thing, then yeah, I would say it's pretty fucking important. As a matter of fact, that's precisely the reason why we needed to know exactly what it meant when Ron DeSantis started saying no more woke books. Okay, no more wokeness in schools in Florida. And they did define it for us. And it was literally just, you know, if you have a correct assessment on historical injustices, that would be considered woke. And we are no longer allowing that to be taught in schools. Like, they literally were doing the most anti-free speech shit you could do and try to do exactly what they claim is like 1987, 1984, George Orwell, Animal Factory, Animal Farm, Animal Crossing. Okay, George Orwell. I accidentally said the right thing in there, but whatever. I've been saying it wrong for so long that I forgot what the right thing was, and then I accidentally said it right. It is it's just so fucking stupid. I don't know. I'm so tired of this shit.
Policies themselves will have consequences. Call them woke, don't call them woke. It doesn't really matter all that much. The fact of the matter is that your ideology boils down to bad policy, and that bad policy has consequences. And those consequences are evident for everyone to see. And we are seeing people right now vote with their feet, vote with their money. This is going to have dramatic ramifications for the future of the United States. The fact that this ideology has pervaded into the highest echelons of the Democratic Party and down to the lowest echelons of American society in terms of income, in terms of socioeconomic status, and all of the rest. To pretend that wokeness doesn't exist while you guys actively promote it is pretty incredible. Now, speaking of wokeness, there is New York Attorney General Letitia James, who essentially got Andrew Cuomo thrown out of office on the basis of a report that wasn't big enough to actually prosecute, but did allow her to essentially open a pathway to herself to run for the nomination for governor in New York. She didn't win, obviously. She has now decided that she's going to hold a drag story hour event open to children.
Thank you, Trinrek, for the 5 Get the subs.
So if you want to talk about wokeness in society, this is one aspect of wokeness. All the mechanisms of society are designed to oppress not only Black Americans.
Am I crazy or did the audio go out for a second?
All the So if you want to talk about wokeness in society, this is one aspect of wokeness. All the mechanisms of society are designed to oppress not only Black Americans, as San Francisco claims, but also LGBTQ Americans, and thus we.
Yeah, this shit sucks. I'm done. I can't do this. Here's some textbook publishers trying to get approval in Florida. Rosa Parks showed courage. One day she rode the bus. She was told to move to a different seat because of the color of her skin. She did not. She did what she believed was right. This is the initial version for the review. Miss Park was told to move because of the color of her skin. In Florida, the second updated version, her story is told without the mention of race or segregation. Rosa Parks showed courage. One day she rode the bus. She was told to move to a different seat. She did not. She did what she believed was right. That's awesome. The initial version for the review of this 4th grade textbook included multiple references to African Americans. Black codes denied African Americans their basic civil rights in Florida. The laws made it a crime for African American men to be unemployed. If an African American man did not have a job, he could be fined a large amount of money or imprisoned. These laws also prevented African Americans from serving on a jury. This is the second version, which eliminated the mention of African Americans in some cases and used the phrase certain groups as a stand-in. So remember, What is happening here is not necessarily like, stopping white people from feeling bad about their past or whatever the fuck these absolute monsters were claiming. It's just about changing the history in the way that, many far-right groups have tried to change time and time again. And that's precisely what this is. Many state legislatures created laws that were biased or unfair toward formerly enslaved people, historically known as the Black Codes. I wonder why they were called the Black Codes if they were just all formerly enslaved people. These laws enforced discrimination and segregation. They even made it a crime for men of certain groups to be unemployed. I wonder what the Black Codes, I wonder who they were trying to segregate against. Why does this feel like right-wing pronouns? I mean, first of all, this is beyond that because, like, everyone has a fucking pronoun. Okay? But this is what happened in history. Gender is quite literally an expression. Okay? The idea that you would, like, go out of your way to fucking misgender someone is silly. This, on the other hand, is exactly what happened throughout history, and they're whitewashing it and undermining the historic the historic impact of segregation. This is literally what the Nazis intended to do and what the Florida Nazis are doing. I don't believe that this is real, right? Yeah, this is not real. It was introduced. It does not specifically remove the organizations listed in the tweet's current form. However, its current language is vague, and many organizations are concerned about the bill's impact on their operations, like centers and programs for Black students, Latino students, Asian AAPI students, LGBTQ students. Tenured faculty will be eligible for review. And NPHC organizations like the Divine Nine orgs. I mean, there's a purpose for all of this shit, right? And remember, the right routinely tries to make it seem like the left is actually censoring books and shit. They do this all the time, but they very openly censor books. They very openly censor history. I can't do this. I don't want to talk about this any further. Anyway, that's why fucking banning wokeness is like a problem. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about on the serious news side before we get to like artificial intelligence and then move on to like some other shit is why Americans hate paying taxes with John Oliver.
But Uncle Sam reaching his dirty little paw down our pants. We pay federal taxes, state taxes, property taxes, tax on gas, alcohol,
Did I say John Oliver? John Stewart.
Tampons, clams.
I meant John Oliver, artificial intelligence, in this John Stewart video on why Americans hate taxes.
There's even a tax on sound effects.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can have as many Johns, as many white Johns doing political satire, but God forbid you have more than one Hasan doing the same shit, you know?
It sounded like an ocean liner just came. I don't know. We got to be the most taxed people in the world. What do we got there? Really? 8% is the average tax burden in the United States of America? That can't be right. The point is this, it's low. Lower than you'd think. So, I mean, if we're mad, those 38% paying meatball-eating scandies must be absolutely outraged.
I love to pay my taxes.
Det är lite hög, men det är bra också.
I pay because I think the system works.
Yeah, I like paying taxes.
From your lighthouse in an Ingmar Bergman movie? By the way, that gentleman is now available at IKEA. He's called a Skernbergen. But these folks bring up an interesting point. They seem pleased to pay taxes because their system is working. Why?
We don't have to worry about getting sick. We don't have to worry about insurances.
Daycare for kids, free school.
When you go give birth, it's almost free.
Things in Finland's government-issued baby box that just make sense. All the pads for your new leaking body. Condoms so you don't pop out another one right away.
They get a fuck box? You go to Finland, you get a taxpayer-funded fuck box? Although I guess, you know, to be fair, any box could be a fuck box if you're... Pandemic, 2.5 years in, you know. You gonna finish that Happy Meal? No, I don't want the food. Just really like the box. Anyway, but those are socialist countries, ice hippies. Surely countries that don't use reindeer bones for money are singing a different tune.
If you're diabetic, your prescriptions are free, so I don't have to pay for it anyway.
On a de belles routes, on a accès à une certaine éducation, on a un système de santé qui est excellent.
The children get free medical care. There is no extra charge, whether for regular checkups, for treatments, or for prescription medicine.
Wow, it's amazing what you can.
If we didn't have to support the weight of empire, we could also have nice things. I mean, that, but also, like, that's the right-wing attitude, you know what I mean? It's like, why the fuck do we have to support the weight of empire? How about we do, like, you know, how about we do the like, if you have to do some imperialism, like, do, like, a little bit of, like, do some shitty, like, economic imperialism, but, like, maybe lighten the burden on the military imperialism, you know what I mean? Like, how about start there? That's a good place to start. You know what I mean? Just like rein it in, dude. Just fucking rein it in a little bit. Like rein it in, please.
Pay for when you haven't been allowed to have an army. Now, oh right, I invaded Poland. Yeah, it was me. In 2022, Americans paid almost $5 trillion to the government in federal taxes alone. So what do we get?
I've spent many days on the phone crying with the insurance because I can't not let my daughter have her medicine.
There was no way I was going to be able to ever afford daycare. No vacation, no benefits.
$65,000 in student loan debt.
I can't afford to retire.
I feel like I will be in debt for the rest of my life.
So what accounts for the vast chasm between their satisfaction in other countries and our, let me check my notes, debt?
Problem is, if we became just like Finland, Sweden, things would be better, but the global south be suffering. If America's military footprint resembled Sweden and Finland's, the world would be objectively like 900% better at the very least. This is not to say that, like, you know, social democracies do not benefit from extracting natural resources and you know, human suffering caused in the global south. Of course they do. But like unironically, if America moved towards social democracy and like reduced its military footprint and utilized the DoD as like what it is, which is a jobs program, not for murder and you know, a never-ending cycle of violence, but instead for like building bridges and shit, you know what I mean? Yes, we would literally be, the world and the global south be infinitely better off. Like, it wouldn't solve all the problems, but it would certainly go a long way. This is precisely the reason why I advocate for the things I advocate for with respect to like moving towards a social democratic process. Any way in which you undermine America's military superpower, okay, is going to objectively make the world a better place. Trunon was talking about how we spend so much money arming ourselves and other places just creating a cyclical nature of lowering our ability to help ourselves. Like socialist countries are so poggers, while somewhere like Mississippi has a fucking 27% child poverty rate. Yeah. Your chat is saying you have a brain dead take about this. Please explain to them why. Wait, what? I don't think anyone's saying that. Who the fuck would say that like reducing America's military power wouldn't objectively be a good thing for the planet? I'm pretty sure everyone understands that. The problem is the imperial court can't move towards social democracy. America can't do social amenities. America has to be this like rugged capitalist hellhole. Okay? Someone has to be the main guy that does this evil. Just kind of how it is. America has also basically eviscerated any chances of revolutionary potential in its ranks, not only by like destroying labor unions and any semblance of like leftist organizing, by sometimes directly murdering leaders, but usually by just, you know, slow erosion. But most importantly, manufacturing is no longer here. So there is no assembly line where you can get together and work. The closest you can get to like an assembly line is Amazon facilities, And it's incredibly difficult to even organize within said facilities, partially because Amazon has decided to have the most insane cycle of like firing and hiring. So much so that they're running out of new people to hire at this point. Bruv, that is so cap. If you don't like America, one step backwards will be taken as an advantage by its competitors. If you like more China or Russia, it's your opinion. What? Bruv, that is so cap. Yeah, dude. Russia is going to take over the world. You're right. Brother, Russia can't even take over one of the ugliest villages you've ever seen, okay? What the fuck are you talking about? They can't even take over Bakhmut. What do you mean? They're going to take over the world? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What army? They literally level it to the fucking ground and then engage in trench warfare for no reason. Like, they can't even take over a fucking village, okay, with like 8 donkeys in it that they've literally eviscerated, reduced to rubble, and they can't even take that over. What fucking, what country, what global prominence does Russia have? It's so funny that like NatSec libs and fucking tanky like, MAGA communist Russia defenders do the handshake emoji whenever they talk about the Russian military might. It's so funny, dude. Imperialism isn't even good for the empire. For some reason, chatters are disagreeing. I mean, imperialism isn't good for the empire. If you think about the labor aristocracy, by definition, they are better off than the global south, like the permanent underclass in the global south. But it's still not good. It's still not good because, profits need to be squeezed out everywhere. So that's how you arrive at like, domestic imperialism. The very same kind of attitude. Which is part of the reason why, like, I don't give a shit. No matter what, you have to hand it to our foreign adversaries whenever they do anything, really. Tanky is any leftist you don't like? I mean, Trotsky Biden is? No, I don't, like, abuse that sentiment like others do. No, but, like, I'm talking about the fucking MAGA communist weirdos. Okay, you know exactly who the fuck I'm talking about. Shut up, like the schizo left. Yeah, Neo LaRouche shit, kind of. Like, I don't think they have a discernible ideology. I think they're just like whatever goes. Revcom, Baba Avakian, but yeah, like the cult left. Anyway. Fuck you, Hasan. Bakhmut had a 70K population. Oh my God. Fucking put me there and end my life, dude. You're missing the point. Okay? I'm not saying it's unimportant. I'm saying that Russia can't even overtake Bakhmut. It is literally an anti-Russia take. You dumb motherfucker. Oh my God. If Russia can't overtake Bakhmut with ease, how the ever-loving fuck are they going to overtake Belgium, even? Which is not even a real place, okay? It's fake. It's made up. Libbrain had to defend Ukraine immediately. Ukraine has reinforced Bakhmut like a dozen times. What do you mean? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're right, dude. You're right. I'm sorry. It is, you're right. Russia has a really, really tough battle there, and that's why actually Russia would be able to overtake every country. You're right. Russia's military power is awesome. I'm so wrong. Like, why are we pretending Russia could ever get through Moldova? Thank you. That's what I'm saying. We're going to ship Moldovan Mama Liga back to Moldova, and he's going to fucking defend. I don't think Russia will try to expand their war past Ukraine, but wouldn't it be pretty easy to roll over Europe considering they already gave Ukraine most of their weaponry? They're not rolling over Ukraine, brother. Just attrition back and forth. Okay, I can't believe we got here. Now, there's a reason why we're talking about Ukraine. In a video where we're covering, a 4-minute video where we're covering taxes. Do you want to know why? Because that's where your tax dollars go in the United States of America and none of the fucking social amenities that you get in a social democracy in Europe. My point was literally this, which is that if America was less militaristic, we would unironically have healthcare and free education, and the world would be a much better place because we wouldn't have such a fucking expansive military with thousands of bases all around the goddamn country, all around the goddamn planet, okay? So yes, you can't have a conversation about taxes and why Americans don't like paying taxes and why American taxes go to one fucking specific industry all the goddamn time without talking about said industry and its impact on the planet
for the rest of our lives.
Anyway,